We did not have very many viewers live, but I've heard several that went back and watched.
Okay.
3 hours.
Yeah.
All right, we'll re-adjourn our special call budget committee meeting. Do we have anybody who'd like to lead us in an opening prayer?
Takers.
Yeah, go ahead.
Heavenly Father, thank you again for this opportunity to come together as we put minds together to try to come up with the best solution moving forward for our county. Give us the wisdom to make the right decisions, to put our citizens first. And guys, we always want to thank you for our veterans and our first responders as they go out and watch after us every day. In your name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Mr. Markham?
I do have a note, just a little agenda.
Yeah.
Because Commissioner Hutchins had asked that I add a couple of things on there, so I didn't want us to forget to have those. And then I've got some other items for you guys, if you're ready for that, or if y'all want to launch into however you want to handle that. I'm good.
I think we're ready for whatever you've got.
Okay. So I took the liberty of creating 5 scenarios. For your review. And I'll go over these as we, after I get them hands out here.
Same things.
Guys.
Chad, I have misplaced your tier system.
I've got new ones.
Okay.
How about that? I'll go ahead and hand those up to you.
No.
This is with the changes that we made the other night.
Okay.
And it gave me an opportunity to go back and look at a couple that.
Just one single?
Yeah, that.
No, you got it.
That part. It gave me an opportunity to look at a few to see, and a couple of them were, I just didn't, I had out of line, I felt like, and then I also looked at those other pay scales that we had been looking at, whether it be the city of Sparta or Warren County, DeKalb County, all those. And so I made a few minor adjustments to those. So this would be the updated, and you'll notice there's more groups. I created more groups there.
Yes.
Just to try to differentiate a little bit. So if you're okay, Mr. Chairman, I'll kind of go over with you what I've got here.
Yes, please.
So what you see on the sheet that shows estimated tax rates, there's an original and then there's option A, B, C, and D. So the original is essentially the adjustments we made to the pay scale the other night, the couple ones that I made internally there, and then also the cuts that we made last week, or Monday night. You see the estimated tax rates there. Now, we've just been focusing on county general, and we can talk about these other rates that I've got there. I'll be glad to discuss my thoughts with you on those, but they're not different among all of the options here. So on your first stapled packet that says original at the top, that is where that matches the original on the estimated tax rates. So essentially you'll see where we're over short in the general fund, what all it includes. I made a few adjustments, like on central maintenance. Instead of the vehicle and equipment parts being 120 increase, I did 70. Tires and tubes, I went from 20 to 15. You can see those adjustments that I made there all the way down through. Do that on the next page. There's some adjustments on EMS. fire rescue. And I will note that on fire rescue, I had talked to Director McBride, and I think he had talked to a few of you about doing some removing a few other things and putting that 50,000 back in. And so I went ahead and made that, I took the liberty to make that swap. If y'all don't want to do that, that's fine, but the overall net change was minimal. And then what is not included, this is on the very last page. So what was completely removed the other night, or what I've been able to determine or what I got removed in order to get to the number that I'm at is on that last page. There's some items that are removed that I'm not necessarily, I kind of feel strongly about, wishing that they'd be in there, but I'm just trying to get us someplace to start. And it follows the same pattern, A, B, C, and D. I've got noted what's removed, or what's added, something was reduced, so it's kind of the same process there. Don't want to take a minute to digest that.
Okay, if you want to sit back there for 2 hours. That's a lot to digest.
I have a question about,
Yes, sir.
like the custodians. There's like a sheriff's custodian, which was like 16 something, and then it went to 13. And there was another one that went the opposite way.
Yes, sir. So whenever we looked at some of those, and trying to put them on the scale with other like positions across the county, some of them were higher than where everybody else would be, but our thought process would be that we would hold them at that higher rate. We wouldn't cut their pay.
But
They wouldn't get a raise.
if you hire them,
Yeah.
But then if
somebody
we
in-
rehired somebody in that position, they would fall under the pay scale. But the existing person, if they stayed in that position, they would stay at the rate that they are.
right.
Yeah.
And some of them were, some were working less hours than other employees, like they're on the same, am I saying that right, Chad? They're on the same,
Yes.
basically the same pay scale, but some were working, 35 hours and some were working 40. So if you done it on a 40-hour week, it was to level out. That was why some of them were not showing a raise, because they weren't working as many hours, but they're getting the same pay based on the hours worked.
Yeah, so that was one thing that we were trying to do is correct that. And it may be that, that at some point, some of these hours need to change, and they can, and that's fine. They'll just be based on the hourly rate instead of a flat amount, which by, in all reality, would be appropriate based on not being exempt under federal law.
We need about 2 more tables, don't we? Before we get good.
Well, looking at the estimates here, Chad, for the A, the B, the C, and the D, I see changes in everything except the general purpose school fund. Is that?
No, that changes, well, the only thing that's changed in all those is the county general. Except on D.
Yes, except D.
And I don't care to talk to that just a little bit. So what my recommendation is into this scenario, on all of these, we've got the general purpose school fund at 41 cents, so that would be a 5-cent increase for them. 2 pennies to the highway public works fund, that would help cover the cost of the projected raises. Both of those, obviously, we've talked about before, run into maintenance of effort. But just, again, these are all, I'm just throwing it out there for discussion. And then I've set aside 4 cents we've talked before about, debt service. We've not got anything in debt service, and we're not putting anything in debt service right now. Presently, until we issue new debt, we're kind of we're in a good position as far as debt service wise for taxes. But the thing about debt service is once you put those tax pennies into debt service, they have to be used for debt, the payment of debt. So if we had, I don't know, $1 trillion, we don't have $1 trillion, by the way, anybody's asking, but, or looking, or listening. But if we had $1 trillion and we wanted to move some of that and just pay cash for something, and it was all in debt service, we couldn't do that because it's restricted in debt service because that's what we levy the tax for. So my thought process here would be 4 cents that we would hold in the county general fund in a special capital section that we would just keep separately, and it'll allow us to, if we wanted to transfer it eventually to debt service to help pay debt, we could, or we can use it to pay cash for items or something like that. And that would be something that would grow, or unless we used it to purchase items, and we would kind of account for it as a separate fund, but it would still be in the general fund, and that allows us to be able to use it. We're not restricted to just debt issuance on that. That's just something I'm throwing out there. Probably a long shot, but wanted you to think about it anyways.
So, in your, everything except option D, just talking about the county general, the original is 123, A goes down to 109, B is 114, C is 116. This pay scale, this new pay scale that you have given us, does this fall into all these categories, or does it only fall into option A or option C?
So the pay scale that you have in front of you is the original, okay?
That's the original.
So modifications to that in option A would be if you took that pay scale and you reduced everything by $1, that 0 to 4 by $1 across the board.
Okay.
And so your what's showing on there is $16 an hour, we go to 15, and everything kind of flows out of that. So if we reduced everything to $1 by $1 across the board, and that's option A.
Okay.
And option A also removes pretty much the large ticket items. Salary increases, so, or not, position increases. So it removes 10 positions, 10 of the positions that were originally requested. So it removes 5 positions from EMS, 4 positions from the sheriff's department, and 1 position from county buildings. It doesn't reduce the positions, it just doesn't give them those units. Yeah.
Yes, gotcha, I got you. Yeah, it says there, I apologize, Chad, if I'd read it
No.
close.
Option B pretty much puts that dollar back in, but keeps those positions out. Option C does the opposite. It reduces the pay scale by $1, but leaves the positions in.
All right.
Because in all honesty, when we're getting down to it, to cut a significant amount of funds, you get into positions and pay. And that's where it's going to come from. I mean, we can cut a patrol car or an ambulance or $100 out of office supplies, but at the end of the day, to get the numbers that we're dealing with, it's salaries.
Salaries and positions.
So,
Make sure I had this right. So option B is the dollar goes back in, but cutting the 10 employees. And option C is adding the 10 employees, but dropping $1 out.
correct, yeah.
Okay. So I did receive a phone call this week, asking me a couple of different questions. The first one, on the longevity pay, how is that taxed? Is it going like an annual fund where it's taxed less, or is it just added to her straight paycheck and then it's taxed at a higher rate, or how would that be implemented?
So it's like it would be like any other additional pay per IRS regulations. It's added to a normal payroll check. We can either do it that way, or we can run it on a separate check but withhold at a higher rate according to IRS regulations. So it would be the way that I have it set up, and that we would need to do it is it'd be added to a normal check. So if somebody was getting $1,000, then on a check, one of their normal checks in December, they'd have an extra longevity bonus added to that check. And those employees are free to make changes to their withholdings at any point that they want to. We can't advise them on that because we don't know their tax situations.
I sort of say, at the end of the year when they file the taxes, it's all the same. I know it's held out.
Ours is.
But you owe
when I
what
get
you owe in
mine, It's a
taxes.
separate check. And
My-
they take that right out. It's just a complete separate check. It's on, in between two paydays. So December's always a good month. You get 3 checks.
Peachtree Sage software that I use has an option for weekly pay, bi-weekly pay, bi-monthly pay, and annual pay, monthly and annual. I don't know, I'm not an accountant, but an annual paycheck is taxed at an annual like bonus is taxed at a lower rate than, now I don't know how that affects their,
Yeah, they may withhold it.
they withhold at a lower
But when
rate.
you get to the end of the year, when you file your 1040 form, your tax bill is what it is. It
Don't
doesn't,
matter.
it doesn't matter. And if you end up paying more, then you would get that back.
Right, I see what you're saying.
It's just a check your cash is different, but at the end of the year, you just
The
owe.
tax bracket you're in is tax
Yeah,
bracket
you
you're
owe
in.
what you owe.
Okay. And then I was
We
also, I was also asked about the detective pay and the lieutenant pay, and I lost my piece of paper that we had on the scales, but the other ones that we were looking at it was different. A detective pay was a little bit higher than the lieutenant pay, and we had them in the same group, and I was asked about that to consider changing the group that is in. I told them that I would bring it up.
You got us a new one now, so.
So presently, patrol detective and patrol sergeant are in the same pay grade. Those were not in the same pay grade that we had last time.
So now they're in group
They're
14.
14.
I don't know enough about law enforcement, but I was told that a detective is more in the line of a lieutenant than a sergeant, and I don't know ranks.
You like where they're at?
Yeah.
That would be an easy fix. I don't care to make that change if you guys want to go that route. That would.
Yeah, I meant the difference in pay.
The difference, the overall difference would be significant based on the number of employees and that it would be affected by.
Do you have to stick with this pay scale?
No,
A, B,
you guys can do whatever you want to do.
just, I mean,
It's 16.
So there's another $2
You know,
and then another.
cut the sergeant 50
You did it right.
cents on the hour, make a difference in it. I mean, if you go up 50 more cents on the other one, then that's gonna put them up with the, with the lieutenant.
So the school, and we've got the school resource officers in group 15, not 14, I don't know, would a resource officer be at a higher pay rate than a A sergeant or a detective?
So they're currently at the same pay rate as a sergeant just in general.
And this has got them at
But
a higher
again-
rate.
We can do where you've got,
Or, they're
That's-
making more than a detective, I don't,
that's the school resource officer lieutenant. That's the
Oh.
person that's over all of the school
oh,
resource
okay, I'm
officers.
sorry.
Yeah, the school resource officers are in 12.
Oh, they're up here in 12, I'm sorry. My phone. And honestly, that was I mean, I received one phone call about it, I'm not saying we should change the world about it, but they just said even a 50-cent difference between a detective and a sergeant.
We'll make the
Make the detectives a
the
14B.
detective, yeah, give them 50 cents and make it 26, and then the lieutenant will be 26.50.
And that's certainly something that we can work with whomever at the sheriff's department on, if we just kind of if I have an idea of how much money that I've got to work with there for you guys.
Put it on that scale, that kind of splits the difference.
Like I said, that was, 14B. Yeah, could we move the sergeant to a 14B? That would be the half penny, like the paramedic field.
I thought it was the detective you thought needed to go up.
The detective needs to be high, they said the detective needs to be higher than a sergeant. So if you move the patrol sergeant to 14B, then that would be, oh no, I'm looking at backwards.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at backwards.
Okay, yeah, move the patrol detective to 14B.
Yes, I'm sorry, yes. The detective to 14B.
I think that's easily cured.
I was looking at the half cents, I wasn't looking at the dollar in front of it. Do you have extra copy for? Is that anything we can share with anybody else?
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know.
You got an extra one more, Chad?
Yeah.
Chris, to get you up to speed, the one sheet that says estimated tax rates, you got it? So you got the original, which is the figures that we talked about Monday night. Option A is basically taking everybody back $1 an hour. On the chart that we had, everybody just gets bumped $1 and removes the 10 positions that we talked about funding, which was the ambulance, the mechanics garage, and
No, mechanics are still in.
mechanics, the EMS, sheriff's department.
Yeah.
Option B was putting the $1 back in and still removing the 10 positions, and option C, was leaving out the dollar, but adding the employees back in.
You said option, that was option one.
C. And D is nothing.
Removes everything and do a 3% cost of living, but adds longevity. All right, it's decision-making time.
I do have some other info, just that might be helpful to you, I don't know if a little bit or not, but. So I took my, assessor's office was kind enough to give me my my updated appraisal rate that will be for 2025. So I'm just sharing that so you kind of know generally how things will go in my area anyways. So my appraisal from 24 to 25 went up 93.55%. So the assessment, my assessment would go from, personally, would go from 40,700 to 78,775. So that would be, if the tax rate ends up, if the estimated tax rate ends up, estimated certified tax rate ends up being somewhere around $1.21. Again, we don't have that yet, but just using that for guesstimates there, then my taxes would go up $118, just at the certified tax rate. And then you can see there what the different proposals that we have there, what the difference over that would be. I just thought it would be helpful to
This is-
see an example.
This is you personally.
This is my personal, yeah, this is my personal rate. So I just thought it would be helpful. It helped me just to be able to put it in context, so. And honestly, I mean, as far as the appraisal going up that much, I mean, we bought our house in 2008. And I know what houses around me have sold for, you know? And so it's definitely in line with that. So, I mean, it's not wrong at all. It makes sense, but just so you have an idea.
Okay.
That does, put the point to it.
Took me a second to rationalize what you were saying, your personal tax. I'm like, what are you, your home value, your home.
Yeah, my home value.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And I would think that is a pretty comparable average.
I mean, it's a three-bedroom house, with a garage, it's vinyl siding. I mean, it's, you know.
I think that's just an average.
I can share with you what the average base rate's gonna be.
Okay.
In 2020, the base rate was 130,000. 2025, the base rate now is 248,200. That's your regular three-bedroom, two-bath house, approximately 1,500 square feet.
So Chad's just a little bit higher above average then.
But I'm on the, you know, I'm kind of in an area
Yeah.
of the county.
But the average appraisal for the county is 248,200.
Base rate, little house, base rate house, average house, yes.
You said it was 130 at 2020?
Yes,
To 248,
two.
200. And what's bad about all of this is the ones of us that have lived here 20, 30 years, 5 years, that bought those houses at 130 to 150,000, is who it's gonna hit. It's not gonna be the ones that have bought houses in the last, just moved in. They're not gonna see the hit like the long, because they're already on that. They already paid the 250 for their house, or the 300 for their house.
Moved in is the reason we went up.
Mhm.
The increase from the ratio, not the reappraisal.
I don't, personally, I'm at the, either the original or option C. I mean, if all these other options are exactly just kicking the can down the road. I mean, that's what we've been doing, and every one of these other options is that, in my mind.
I'm not gonna argue with that.
If you ask me, I'm going with the original. However, I would like to, Kyle brought up something a while ago, I'd like to discuss. Chad, you were talking about the 4 pennies on the original going to the county general capital. Could we take one of those pennies out and cover the medical insurance fee for employees at 100% participation?
Yeah, I mean, we can move those pennies around however you want to there.
It's still
I mean,
taken away from debt service, in
Yeah.
my mind.
we know that, we know we need to do improvements in the jail. We think we're gonna have another school come up. Isn't there some discussion on having to do some another school remodelers? Am I dreaming of that, or?
Animal shelter.
Jail, I mean, we got animal shelter, we gotta do something with, we got the justice center that we gotta do something with. Mr. Drombarger come, I don't know, one of the meetings I was at, he said that he is not gonna be the director that asks for more money for the school system. I'm not saying they don't need it, but he said he wasn't gonna ask for it, that he's gonna work within his budget, and the original's adding 5 cent increase to the school. I mean, that's $500,000. I would be, well, on all of them, I'd be more along the lines of trimming that some. The highway department asked for road money, and none of this is including any pennies to the road.
Yeah, so if you look on there with the 2 cents for Highway Public Works Fund, that's the highways work.
Okay, I misunderstood. I thought you said that was for raised, that was.
Well, I mean, it goes to that fund, so you can say you want to use it for paving, and hit the money he was going to use for paving and use for the raises. It's just-
Okay.
I knew the raises were going to cost around $200,000, and so that's where I come up with the 2 pennies at.
But if we give it to, then it's not, so if he's at, I mean, the raises that we're calculating for his department is gonna take those 2 pennies. So we're still not funding, that's not putting any pennies to the road. And I know, and we've never done that before, and I know.
Jerry, you got thought on that?
You ever had highway department schools you ever had them?
It's a heck of an
I mean,
It's a heck of an answer.
I think we need to, we talk about infrastructure. Which he made the changes to the fire. I know Matt called me, I think he made me talk to another one or two. And Chad, if I'm correct, the changes you made was totally dropping the side by side and giving the fire money, and I'm sorry, you got it right here, I'm gonna look at it. It's, so you've got the additional 50,000 to a fund, to fund equipment. Did you account for the bed, the $6,000 bed topper? That line's not in there, right?
I've got, I think that we can work within this year's budget to make those items happen.
Okay. The conversation I had with him is, he said, I'd much rather see, he said he's been asking for the side-by-side for 4 years. But he said if he had to choose, he said he's a negotiator, and he would much rather us fund the fire department's that extra money and get the bed topper. He said he could really utilize that bed topper to secure and keep equipment dry and get it out of his back seat, that line item. He said it.
And in the original, we're back to his first request, right, Chad? The additional 50 to get it to 100?
Yes, so it'd be 100
Yeah.
for fire and rescue.
And we're dropping the 28,000 for the side-by-side, and we're dropping the 6,000 for the bed topper. Chad seems to think we can squeeze that out of the budget, the 6. I mean,
Well,
we're,
side by side up there is, every time they have a call or whatever, there's always a side by side there, whether it be EMAs or rescue or whatever, there is. I just don't see the side by side that big.
Well, the-
well, and we've got it
The only thing
removed.
with his side by side, that he's wanting one that's set up to carry a Stokes. And
The ones that
that's,
shows up is already,
I mean,
is already set up for cars.
do what?
The ones that you're talking about, right there set up already?
Yeah.
And when they come on the scene, they're already ready to set up and stuff.
oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem I have right there is on that part.
And in the conversation I had with him, he said, take it off. He said, much rather fund the fire department's that extra than to do it. And I asked him, I said, is it really $28,000? Can you not find a $12,000, $15,000 used one somewhere?
We got about $15,000.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, it's like brand new.
Yeah, I mean, I told him that I don't know, Chad may shoot me, but I said I'd rather him look and maybe find one somewhere along the year, maybe do an amendment for 10 or 12,000, or maybe,
It'd be a whole
maybe.
lot easier.
They're out there.
They are, and I just said, I can't ever justify 28,000 for a brand new side-by-side. I said maybe 10 or 15, but not 30, you know. That was my conversation.
But there's talks about, yeah, they haven't committed, but
And the conversation I had with the director is he thought that it was a no-go on the donation. So if we look at original at 170, I'm gonna, I think we need to whittle back this school.
Mr. Chair, well, I guess you're Mr. County Commission Chairman. I mean, I'm going to kind of push back on that a little bit. To say that their increases haven't gone up like everybody else's would be inaccurate, and the issue that they're dealing with TISA funding and the change from the state, they did get a large increase at the initial onset, but that year-to-year increase isn't necessarily where it was with the BEP. So I would ask you to please be cautious in that.
Chad, is there a middle ground there? I mean, it's an increase of 5.
That's 500.
I don't know that Derek is asking to take away all 5, but would you feel comfortable with any of that being peeled back?
I mean, my personal opinion, the five was a reasonable request, but I mean, it's obviously the will of the commission, and if they run into an issue and they've got to come and and request more funds, then y'all can take that up at that time.
The debt services, we're still earning a pretty high interest rate on that.
We are, so we're still in the 4% range right now, and that's still going well.
But that could change at any time.
It could, and that was my thought about not putting any tax money into that, is because we are getting those interest earnings, and anything that we put into that fund is restricted for debt service, and the only debt service we have right now or at the end of this month, the only debt service we have will be Finley Elementary School, and the school is fully funding that with a portion of their sales tax. So essentially, any money that we put in from the county side is just in savings.
But, and like you said, it's a restricted fund though, and it can't be done anything.
Restricted savings.
And it's restricted savings, but we know the jail's coming. We're gonna have to discuss the jail next year. We have to talk about it,
Right.
in my opinion.
And the animal shelter,
And the animal shelter.
hopefully put together.
Good news is that the health department come in under budget today as far as bid wise, so.
Did it? That's good.
A lot of it.
Yeah.
He has good news, folks. Keep it coming.
That's
Come in under 4 million. We was anticipating 6.
Yeah.
Is there?
I'm gonna throw a spitball out. I'm going to, he's holding 4 cents as a rainy day fund, kind of in the general. I'm gonna say that we move at least 2 of those cents straight to debt services. And I'm gonna say that we move 2 pennies of the school money to the highway fund.
So basically, at the end, you're just taking, you take it from 170 to 168.
No, it's just.
Well, I'm still leaving it at 170, I'm just moving it around a little bit. I still,
You gonna bring,
So Derek, you would go county general 123, county general capital 0, general purpose school,
no, the capital would be,
2, did you say?
because you're taking,
well, I want
Well, you're
2 straight to debt services and 2 in the general to hold, split that 4 cents that he's got on the side.
oh, I thought you wanted highway.
Well, I'm moving 2 cents out of the school to the highway.
I see, so
Okay,
school
so
would be
123,
32,
2,
39,
Bringing 2.
39.
highway public works would be
But that comes up to
4,
168.
and general debt would be 2. And that still
How does that
totals,
come up?
And the county capital would be 2.
Moving 2?
right, yeah.
to here.
So I'm not changing the 170 at all.
Yeah.
So 123
I'm not
to
changing 170 at all.
39.
170 stays
So
the
you want to
same.
move,
It'd
Instead
be
of 4, he's wanting to go to 2.
Yeah.
Instead of 41, he's wanting to go to 39. He's wanting to go from 2 to 4,
okay, I didn't know
and
2 to
from
4.
0 to 2.
yeah,
You want to go 2 to 4 and public
in the
works.
highway.
One thing to keep in mind is on that county general capital, you can always move money from the general fund into debt service, but you can't move money from debt service to anything else.
Is your thinking there just the interest rate, Derek?
Yeah, but let's
Capitalize on it?
capitalize on the interest rate while it's there. 'cause
Well,
it's-
the interest rate in the debt service fund, all interest of the county, regardless of the fund it's in, except for its child nutrition fund, goes to debt service. So no matter what fund you put it in, the interest money from there is going to debt
Going
service.
to debt services, okay.
Is there any difference in the interest amounts? I mean, they're all.
No, it's, we hold them all together.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, it's all in one.
It's all one checking account.
Gotcha.
And so if you look at, And if you revert back to 170, if you revert it back to the original and you look at the home value example of going from 162 to 315, it's a $386 increase on that, which is above the average base rate.
What was that base rate? I'll figure that.
248,200. And Chad, would you, well, you're adding it up now.
If we do this with the highway department, are we creating a maintenance of effort?
Yes.
Yes. We are.
Didn't we talk about how we could avoid that by
We could,
Well,
Borrowing money or
it's
something.
going to be going to, pay, it's not gonna be going to asphalt. So there's not like a big,
Gotcha.
well,
I mean, you can make it go to whatever you want.
I mean, once it's his, right?
yeah.
But is this in addition to what we were,
So the 2
the pay that we had set up for them?
So the 2 cents that he's showing in option A,
That covers?
or the original.
The original.
Basically, the 2 cents is covering the pay increase.
I got you, I got you.
And he also asked for
More
an
money.
additional 200 for paving,
Right.
basically.
So, back to the number that I was calculating, so the 248.2 appraised value that Mr. Jones was able to give us, 25% of that would be 62,050 as your assessment value. At $1.21, it'd be $751, and at $1.70, it would be $1,055, a difference of $304.
In Chad, you take the base times 20%,
That's 0.25.
25%.
That gets your assessed value. You're only assessed on 25% of the appraisal.
And then that 25% times the 1.2% or 1.7% or the
Well, it's 100,
100.
It's per 100. What way I do
No,
it,
it's per 100, per,
of course, you can move the decimal around, do it different, but I take, when you multiply it by 2.25, you get, then I divide that by 100, and then multiply it by the tax rate, would it be 1.7 or 1.21,
Yep.
or you can skip the divide by 100 and move the decimal points over in your multiplication, but I don't, I just.
yeah. So the average homeowner is gonna pay $300 a year more.
Yeah, 354, so $1 a day.
304 on the average of 248,200.
Okay, 304, that's 354.
304.
Well, that's for the average.
The
Yeah,
average.
yeah.
In Chad's,
Chad's a little above average.
Yeah.
yeah, he was about $1 a day.
He's a stellar performer.
It's sickening to even think about having to do this, but I kind of, even the article I wrote for the next week, the growth in our community, it'll be an ARCA, we're averaging about 500 new citizens a year over the past 3 or 4 years. And that just goes back to 2024 is the latest numbers. That's causing more wear and tear on the roads, that's more calls for EMS, that's more calls for the sheriff's department, more people required to respond to that.
And we're growing just shy of 800 parcels since 2020.
Grown 800 partials since 2020.
We put over 100 parcels on just this year,
I already get 100 this year.
so we're growing like crazy. Now, there's areas of the county that's went up over 100% in value. And there's areas that has not went up but 50 or 60% in value.
Right.
And on the areas where the sales were last year. The average was
We-
74.5, 75%.
You would think the city's taking in more tax, more sales tax money because of our growth. I mean,
I'm sure they are. But we're not.
but we're not. We are, but at a much lower ratio.
Yeah. But you know, kind of TK's point, well, everybody's point, our shift, or adding the 4 positions to the EMS and some positions to the sheriff's department, I think it's almost you gotta do it. I mean.
If we don't do it this year, we'll have to do it next year.
We're working them guys to death.
No, we are. It's,
And when you add that, then you've got to add the extra vehicles, and you've got to add the extra
Equipment.
equipment, yeah. And that's a have to. So what I'm saying right now is we pretty much eliminate option D,
I think,
and quite possibly option B.
I do want to point out, I mean, these were just ideas on my part to try to give you some options. So anything you guys want to
he said,
It could be
do to
anything in
this,
the
we
middle, in
can,
between.
yeah, we can move stuff around. I can do it on the fly right here, so.
B and D. B and D, take them both off, in my opinion, because I just don't think they're gonna work.
yeah, because both, B is cutting 10 employees that we need, that we almost have to add. And D is nothing.
Doing nothing.
I mean,
We're not gonna continue to do this. We've been asked to.
well, option A is removing the 10 employees too.
Hey, yeah.
I mean, I feel like A's out, or I
Like I
think
said,
original or C.
is,
or
that's the
somewhere
only
in
two
between.
options I see.
I'm good with that. I think we're all back to original. Just that quick.
Now, Derek, you had a proposal, moving some things around.
Yeah.
You guys want to talk about the structure of the original?
My theory behind changing, putting 2 pennies in debt services was to draw that interest, and he said the interest all goes. So leaving, I mean, he had 4 cents in a rainy day fund.
So leave that the same.
Yeah, that was my reasoning behind the moving the general capital and the debt services. That was my reasoning behind changing that, was to,
Well, how about we,
and it's
if
just
we
moving.
pull one from capital general and one from, general purpose school and give one of each to the highway, that'll get the 2, that'll give him his paving.
So you're thinking 122.
I'm thinking
No, not.
3 for general purpose capital, 40 for school, and 4 for highway, and 0 for debt service, stays at 0.
One thing that I did want to point out in the original, just to make sure that you guys see what's not included on there. Some of it was stuff that we took out last time, but then we've also got, I mean, honestly, something that I feel pretty strongly about, but obviously is a big chunk is that TCRS COLA
Yeah.
and commission credit. But, you know, that's pretty, with all the other things, that's pretty hard to swallow there, I think. But
That one
it's just
hurts.
gonna get worse as time goes on.
What's that in?
The
TCRS COLA.
It's the,
TCR.
it's the,
It was took out, that's retirement for commissioners and cost of living adjustment for,
And that's like a 10-year thing, so that's, you know, it's amortized over 10 years, and then that would be paid off. But
how many pennies is that?
so it'd be 668 for 10 years roughly. Well,
6, 7 pennies.
yeah, so,
It'd be
Consider what-
$668,000
It would move
a year
our-
for 10 years.
you know, it would move our TCRS.
Almost that.
So what we would do is, it would just move our TCRS rate up from right now. For next year, it's going to be 7.92%, so it would move it up into the probably 14% range. Of course, that would change year to year, but it would be in the teens for the next 10 years probably. And then would drop back down. But there's also other things on there that, you know, we've talked about, or I just wanted to make you aware of that.
Are there any things that are not, on that not included, that we might be able to get in this year's budget, that now that it's coming to a close and?
Like one-time things?
Yeah,
Wait a
I
minute,
mean-
I see the carpet replacement in the library. I didn't think we cut that.
now he did additionally, because he was trying to squeeze out a little bit. That's that's the one item
Yeah,
I'm talking about.
those are things that I mean, some of these things are things that I reduced out, so.
That's the one item I'm
That's why I want
talking
you to be
about, was
aware of that.
carpet replacement.
I don't think we got 35,000 extra in the library budget.
No, I mean, we have to run it out of fund balance, but
It's not a bad idea. What about the health department janitor for the new building? If that's not gonna happen, can we transfer that off and maybe put the carpet in with that?
We're not gonna have that employee this year.
yeah, I mean, that's certainly something we could do there.
So I asked about adding 3 things on the agenda. Changing commissioner pay was one of those. Technically, that's not anything that has to be discussed right now at budget, because if any changes we make won't go into effect till the new cycle, so I'm good with tackling that after we get through with this, right?
Okay.
But I would like to talk about that digital system. What was the cost on the electronic
There was.
voting system?
There was 3 levels of it, being Essential, Pro, and the Pro AV. Obviously, the top level, I don't think we need. The Pro level, I think, is where we eventually need to go. Y'all might not want to start out at that and work that way up. But the Pro one was $9,750, basically $10,000 for a one-time setup, and $5,250 annually.
5,250 annually.
And the basic one, the essential one, was basically $7,000 one-time setup and $3,750 annually.
Does anybody else think anything about that?
I think it's a good thing.
I mean,
It goes after our transparency situation that we keep trying to expand on.
we finally upgraded to this camera system that can be integrated into that. Can we, the Essential system, will that integrate into our camera system that we have and be able to show that live on screen?
My understanding is yes, but I don't think, I'm going back trying to remember that thing, you wasn't there. My understanding is that's not really something they do, your internal IT people have to
Do that?
do that. But yes, it will.
And since we're setting up a new webpage and everything also, right? And all that.
Yeah, that wasn't cut in the original, was it?
No, but I did move it to a different funding source.
I'm saying, we're in the website, 16K.
What, right?
It's on the second page, under IT,
Oh, second
first
page.
line IT.
Yeah,
I was just saying, since that was coming in, that we would be upgrading quite a bit with everything.
But if we're holding a few extra pennies in the rainy day fund, I mean, we can fund that out of that. I mean, that would be 10% of a penny.
Well, holding that, money in that, the capital fund, at the end of the year, what happens with that money? Is it just like,
So it would remain in fund balance, but we would track it separately, kind of like we do with the data processing fees from the clerks or the courtroom security fees, so.
still basically be like the debt service? I mean, it don't have to go back into general fund or what?
I mean, it would be in general fund, but it would be classified separately, so we could keep up with it separately, kind of a sub-account of the general fund.
In Chad, I think me and you've had a conversation before. A healthy general fund balance is to be able to fund for, is it 10 to 15%, isn't that kind of the?
Yeah, that's where you want to be.
So if we're gonna increase the budget by 3 million, 4 million, then we need to put 4 pennies in there for that to keep
up with our
up
fund balance.
with that.
Yeah, I mean, that would be exactly
Yeah.
right.
That's a good point, I didn't even think about that.
But TK, to your point, it is in general fund, but we'll keep track of it separately. So it's kind of like the Parks and Rec money. The Parks and Rec money is in general fund, but we keep up with it separately in a separate account. So
But if there's
if you want to use something.
$10,000 in there at the end of the year,
Mhm.
next year, that $10,000 will still be there plus whatever.
Whatever
we-
grows, correct.
Okay.
Yes, correct. Just, yeah, we do that with several things in the general fund. The only benefit to not putting it directly in debt service is the ability to use it for,
Use it for something
if
other
you need to,
than
yeah.
debt.
Would you guys be okay with funding that out of that money?
Yeah, absolutely.
Funding.
Are you looking at TK's
No,
last?
I'm talking about the essential voting system, that
Funding it out of.
$11,000, the essential, starting up that level 1 voting system to see how that works.
so,
It can be upgraded we can
So,
upgrade.
Yeah.
what are you where are you talking about funding it out of?
Out of that 4 cents.
But you moved that to 3, so do you want to go from public, the highway department from 2 to 3?
Or the 3 cent. I mean, it's a one, I mean, it's,
Yeah.
And then, and take,
It's a one-time,
It's
so,
a-
Yeah, we-
and then that reoccurring comes out of that, so, I would say
It's a
leave it
very-
at the 3.
yeah, leave it at the 3 and just, that's a blip in that, really.
So we're wanting to do the 3, the 40, and the 4.
I can get on board with that. Still doesn't change the 170.
What do you think?
I feel pretty strongly about finding a penny for the 100% medical insurance for the employee.
I feel like we're going to bat for the raises. And we're really stepping up heavy for the raises and
And longevity.
longevity.
I feel like this is just a part of the package almost.
Well, in the private sector, hardly anybody gets full 100% paid for insurances.
And, you know, the majority of the employees don't take it. Is that correct?
No, that's not correct. The majority of our employees do take it.
They do?
I can actually give you those numbers right now, from our, 'cause whenever I calculated this. We actually have quite a few that are on something besides the,
I don't think I've got
employee only
enough support.
plan. So we have,
Okay.
in
And I don't want.
one, highway, solid waste, and county general, we have 106 employees on employee only, 16 on employee child, 6 on employee spouse, and we're covering 12 families. And that is, so that's 140 total employees. Out of,
I mean, the only way I would consider budgeting on it is to pull the penny from the school.
out of about 210 total eligible employees.
So you,
I mean, if Kyle's wanting to fund, it's 100, it's a penny, you said it's about a penny.
94, yeah.
it's right out of it.
Yeah.
So it's 66%.
well, we went through and did, on average, a 15% cost of living back during the original last. Then we've come back and added another $1 an hour above that 15%.
We went to bat. I feel like we.
Plus, you know, I'd be
I mean,
good with going back to the original 15% across the board, take the $1 back away and go use that to fund the insurance, if they think they do have insurance instead of
So just so you guys know, right now, there's 4 different levels of health insurance through the state. We base our percentage of payment on the level 2, I guess, out of 4. It's called the limited plan, but really the only difference in it and any of the 4 plans is the co-pays and co-insurance and deductibles that covers the same stuff. But we base ours on the limited plan, and we pay 92% of the cost of employee-only coverage. If the employee wants to buy up to the standard or the premium, they pay the difference, or if they want to buy down, they could essentially get it for, I think, $2 a month, the employee-only coverage. for the level 1 coverage. And then we pay 65% of employee child, employee spouse, or family coverage. So I know that a lot of the folks talk about the city of Sparta, and there's other places that pay 100% of the employee-only coverage, and they do. But in the city of Sparta's case, they only offer family coverage. So if you have kids and it's just you and 2 kids, you have to pay full family coverage. They don't offer the other 2 tiers like we do as well, so.
We're covering 92%, and at us covering 92% of the employee only, was what you said, of the ones that take it.
Right.
We currently have how many employees that have, 6, what was that?
We have 80, I'm sorry. We have 106 employees on employee-only coverage.
How many total employees take advantage of our insurance?
140, so 67% of our
140
eligible employees take advantage of it.
is 67%.
If we
That's
increase
that's
this-
employee-only, that's all the coverages.
Yeah, everything
Yeah, we 67% of our workforce is on our health insurance.
is on our health insurance plan. So with that said, then we have 33% that do not have our insurance. So
That's
if we cut $1 out of the employee pay to pay for health insurance, then 33% of our employees don't gets $1 taken out of their paycheck. I
That's not a
don't
good plan.
think that's gonna go over very well.
No, but let me ask you this, what percentage, if we did do that and change the penny to cover that, of the 33% that don't take it would want the health insurance?
100% of the 33.
That's how I figured that. I would assume that if something's free, you're gonna take it, even if it ends up being secondary coverage, but, I mean, I'm sure it won't be 100%, but I would imagine it'll be in the 90s.
So that would change that cost as well, wouldn't it?
Well, I figured it on
Okay, I got
100%. And that's just the general fund cost, so that's gonna change your, highway fund cost. Of course, the majority of them, there's 18 out of 24 people at the highway department that are, 23, 24 people that are on the insurance, and then almost everybody at the solid waste department's on.
So let me-
insurance.
So the raises we're giving, we're haggling over $1 an hour. If, for the ones that, is the $1 an hour more than offsetting the cost that they're paying? Is that the ones that are paying?
I haven't did the math, but.
$1, I mean, what do we work with, what's,
You know,
we basing 175, 180 hours a month or something on pay?
And maybe we consider changing the percentage. You know, when we first started doing these percentages, we did 88% of the employee-only coverage, and we moved that up to 92% a few years ago. So maybe we
Yeah.
look at increasing that slowly over, go to 95% or increase that slowly over the next, few years or something like that. Or we just go to 95 and just a thought.
Just to be clear, I wasn't looking at taking away $1. I was looking at taking away a penny out of general capital or general purpose.
The $1, I mean,
Yeah,
Denny suggested the $1.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
I don't like
feel
doing that.
comfortable going backwards there.
I think the pay is where it should be. If we're gonna make it splash, I mean, we're trying to do the right thing. In my opinion. I think if we're gonna take a penny, I think we have to maybe take another one from either.
I'm with Derek on there are very, very, very few places that actually pay 100% of healthcare. If we're at 92, that's
I think that's pretty strong.
pretty strong.
I agree, I think that's strong.
I mean, I
You're
don't
gonna
know.
get people start taking it, don't need it, and we're just gonna let it be.
Then it's gonna, yeah,
If you don't have no skin in the game at all,
they're gonna take it, and then I'm not gonna say that health insurance can be abused. I mean, if we,
I mean, you know,
So
what's
if we
the
were-
percentage that we're
Well-
doing in pay already? I mean, it's, you
It's an
know,
average of 15.
Plus $1.
15% plus $1.
Plus $1.
I can, that's on that spreadsheet that you got there. The last column, I did add that, is the percentage increase.
Which spreadsheet?
That spreadsheet. The one that's stapled together.
The big,
Oh,
big
wow.
one?
The big one.
Narrows it down to
Yeah.
5.
The big one you stapled.
You said the last page, you said something?
The last column.
Oh, the last
Increase
column.
column.
Okay,
Oh,
You'll
okay.
see the. so-
percent increase.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it just depends on the position, it depends on the hours they work, because that, again, that was the thing, going to a pay schedule was, going to the pay schedule was to try to get some of these positions that were way out of line from other similar positions in the county into a common
So
category.
that, across the board, the average is 15%. Some are lower, some are higher, but the average is
I
15.
can get you that.
Well, no, well, it'd be more than that, because this one includes the extra $1.
This one is, yeah, this
It was
scale,
15 and then half $1.
yeah.
Here, I can get this for you. Let me just. So that would make the average 15.42%. Again, not everyone, some people are higher than that, some people are lower than that. But that's the average.
They went from like 875 to 12.
It's got the 12, yeah.
The lowest paid employee that we have anywhere in the whole county would be at minimum of $12 an hour. Is that, am I right?
Full-time.
For a full-time, not, yeah, full-time. Well,
And I do want to caveat that, I mean, some of our positions that are part-time, like we have some part-time truck drivers at the solid waste department, they would be making the same, they currently make the same rate of pay as a normal truck driver, just on an hourly basis. So some of those items are for part-time people, not all part-time personnel are going to be at $11 an hour, but that's kind of a base for part-time and then a base of $12 for full-time employees.
Yes.
what say you, Commissioner Brewington?
Speeches.
I had never known you not to be speechless.
I would like to see them get it all over it.
So-
That's a raise for them, I'd say them $30, $40
I mean,
every 2 weeks on the budget. That's like a raise to them.
We're giving them almost,
15% last year, did they not?
I mean, 15%
What was
is
it
a
last
raise,
year?
but everybody's one's got, well, like $1.
No, last year Still 5 and then the 15, this was 30%, or 20%.
Do what? Got 3% last year, okay. That's what mine
the
says.
average was 15 points.
He's in that bracket.
I know there's some that are in there that's like that.
321. But that's, we'll have to talk about that.
15.42.
Look at this one.
That's a separate conversation, I think.
So, an $18 an hour employee, if they, on average, if they get a 15.42%, that's $2.77 an hour. $15 an hour employee is $2.30. I mean, if you're $20 an hour, you're getting a $3 an hour raise.
Well,
That's
what
15%
is
is
their
pretty
match?
strong. 15 and a half.
How much does it cost the insurance match? if we're paying 92% of it, how much is it costing them
Okay, let me
Per-
pull that up.
If we go
per
from
month
92 to
or per
95.
check or
Also,
however?
these numbers and this
I mean,
percentage does not include longevity. That is a huge bonus, and that'll cover
That'll cover a lot of health insurance.
a lot of that health insurance. So I
Yeah,
go back to
that's a
that,
big point.
that's a huge bonus that they're getting on top of that, so I kind of see that now a little bit better.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Per week, for a weekly, because we pay weekly and bi-weekly. Weekly, employee-only coverage is $11.58 a week currently. Bi-weekly, would obviously, $23.15. And I can give you a monthly, if you want the monthly too.
Monthly.
Okay. Monthly is $50.16 a month for employee-only coverage
At the 92%.
I mean,
at the 92%. So if we.
I can't get on board. I can't
I
get
mean,
on board with
that's $50.
$50
I mean,
a
that's-
month.
But I think probably where
I
we have,
guarantee you, I mean, I would take $50 a month of health care.
and I think probably where we have some folks that have opted into the Premier PPO or the standard PPO plan, and those are more. But you have lower deductibles, lower co-pays,
And
and
usually
lower
those-
out-of-pockets.
Usually the ratio for those out-of-pockets and co-pays, in my opinion, offset the monthly
Yeah.
cost.
So like on the standard
Those
PPO.
insurance companies don't.
On the standard PPO, the employee would pay $195 a month. On the Premier, they're paying $262 a month for employee only. But now they can opt down to go to the high deductible health plan that has an HSA attached to it, and it would cost $2.16 a month. But
We have to.
but we base it on the limited because it's not a high deductible plan, I mean, it's a normal
The only
plan.
place I would look at, I mean, taking it out of their pay, is the only way that I would be willing to do 100% of it. I
So,
mean, because we're giving them a heck of a raise in my mind.
so the last I heard on the table was county general at $1.23, county general capital at 3, general purpose school fund at 40, highway public works at 4, and debt service at 0. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
Because I think we're fairly close to having to make a decision here on, you guys,
The way I read it.
any more conversation on where the pennies flow? Commissioner Brewington, I hate to put you on the spot, but you're the only one here tonight. I'd love to know where your mind goes when you hear that range that we're in.
Those numbers you just figured out.
Yeah, but mainly the overall total.
Mainly the 170,
170.
from 121 to 170. 50 cents.
I like to see that.
That's leaving a dollar out of employees' pay.
Which would bring us down, what, 163, correct?
That be to 163.
Well, I mean,
We have input from Commissioner Rogers.
Yeah,
Did that go to everybody?
he's titling right now.
No.
15% pretty strong, unheard of raise, probably needed due to being neglected over the years.
It's
We
not,
have some fund balance, any one-time items we can eat out of the fund balance to maybe save a penny or two.
Does he mean for this year?
Yeah, he's been in,
For fiscal year '25?
but
Think about it. I want
Thing
you to
about
say
eating
this.
pennies is we've been eating pennies for
Too long.
too long, in my opinion.
I agree.
We've been eating the pennies. We
We
keep-
said last
we
year
keep
that
robbing.
we would gonna, this is the time.
We
we're
said
gonna stop
we've
that.
robbed from the fund balance
I do agree with you, but keep in mind, there's only 4 of us here,
Mhm.
and we do need 8
We do need 8. And
to,
I'll be
in full
on,
court to pass.
There's 5 of us here, 6 of us, 5 and.
Well, there's 4 on this committee.
Oh.
I'm just saying, there's
Oh, that's
10,
right.
there's
I don't
10
have-
others that,
yeah.
Forget I know.
Sorry.
I forget I don't
There's,
count.
No, we're just talking,
get about
I mean,
And
I just don't know what else we can do other than what we've,
I don't know either.
We're doing-
And
this, I agree with, I'm not arguing.
Yeah.
Just, it's a lot of work for us.
It is a
That's-
lot.
You're the only one here, so I'm sorry. but-
And I'll say this, and I'll be on record, I'm
It-
highly disappointed in the other commissioners that have not come to any of our budget meetings that are gonna have to either approve or deny this. And if they deny it and they kick back on what we've done, they should have been here helping us make these decisions.
and they should be able to look at these numbers.
And they should be able to look at them and understand the numbers as well.
We can give them a spot next year.
You know,
I'm
the whole
all
thing,
about it.
you know, ever since I've been on the commissioner, I mean, this has been an issue. And it will be an issue again next year, I promise you. But we will have done something that we can say, you know, we made the effort. I won't feel bad about not doing anything next year or just doing simple cost of living. I mean, you know, that's,
Well, I will say too, while what you're saying, you need to look at setting this rate where you need it for the next at least
5
5 years.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to set it for just what you need this year and then next year have to go back and fight all this again and set it back up. You might as well set it where you're going to need it.
And that's the whole point of the 4 pennies, in my opinion. And that's probably not enough, but.
I agree.
3 now.
Yeah, it's 3 now.
3, yeah.
I agree. But I'm willing to do this because it seems like a consensus for the 4 of us, 7 of us, that,
6.5.
the original that we worked with, it takes care of the things we have to take care of, but it also takes care of the employees, and that's kind of where I'm at. The only thing that I really.
I told the
truly
employees
regret-
for 2 years that if they would help us pass the sales tax,
Yeah.
and I told them that I would, and if it didn't last year, I told them that I'd go to bat for them at pay time. And that's, I feel like that's what I'm doing, but
They didn't pass the sales tax.
well, it didn't pass. Well, we wouldn't have to, I mean, there's 10 pennies. Sales tax is 10 pennies.
Would have been nice.
It would have been nice.
Would have been a lot easier on a lot of people if it would have passed. It would have been more fair.
Yeah.
But we don't have it. And
Can't cry over spilt milk, we have to move forward with what we have.
123, 344, and 0. Is that right?
That was the latest discussion. Yeah.
Out of curiosity, how do we feel about the solid waste sanitation fund? When, from a cash flow perspective, do we have any thoughts on when we might see some more? I mean, because eventually we're going to have a recurring payment, that revenue that comes into that, but I didn't know if you had any thoughts on when that might occur, or
My thought process, since you brought it up, is when that host fee starts coming in, which they're predicting October, so let's say the 1st of January. Well, for budgeting purposes, say the next budget year. Use that to operate the convenience centers and do away with the $5 fee on
That was my thought process the whole time.
was it gonna be enough to actually do the upgrades
See,
that we need?
Use
For the
that
convenience
to
centers.
fund the convenience centers and then strip away the $5 bill and the electric fee at that time.
When it starts,
So
At that time.
later,
When it starts
it would be
funding.
late this year, early next year.
when it starts funding itself, we could do away with it $5.
Will it?
I mean, we need new compactors, we need new cans. Oh, I know we've bought some
Well,
cans, but
Denny, when would that not be close to the same amount of revenue? The
It's a
$5
little bit
electric?
less revenue, well, the.
But you're just saying, as long as it,
No.
at minimum
No,
canceled out? is
it'll
that
be
what you-
about the same, because the $5 brings in about 105, 106,000.
I was thinking 600 or
Yeah, it's around
650.
600,000, I'm in 105 per
Yeah,
dollar.
yeah.
Which I think's somewhere around 550 to 6, and the host fee is supposed to be around 6 to 7, I
Yeah.
think. So, yeah, it would probably be more.
But as
And
long
our
as it-
expenses in that, I'm sorry, but
No, no, go on.
our expenses in that fund have diminished too. I mean, when you're not
Right.
having to operate and work on
Right.
those heavy, I mean, we're still operating and working on our trucks, but the heavy equipment is expensive to operate and
When you
maintain.
put an undercarriage under a dozer.
Dozer.
it's
Yeah.
about 60
Yeah.
or 80,000.
You know, track loader and
Yeah.
all that, yeah.
And then the success fee, because we owed $1 million, right?
We're owed 2 million, there's a next check coming.
Well, yeah, but
We
I
had
mean,
debt.
half of that's gone right off the top, right?
All the debt's been extended, anything we get now will be,
So the next, we're expecting another 2 million in the next near future, which that's gonna go to upgrade the convenience centers and do those things, right?
I would like to see it do that, yes. That would be up to this body, but
And then our host fee would fund our
operations.
operations.
Go ahead, Chad.
No, the money that we received from the sale or the purchase of the landfill was used to pay off.
That's what I
our
was-
debt.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
that was used to pay off the debt, yes, sir.
And we're looking at another 2 million fee that's coming when they get the sale approved or whatnot.
You know, and they're projecting October, so, the thumbs up should come before they, so I would say by October to December, that money should, the 2 million should come in.
way they're operating, they're pretty sure it's gonna happen.
Yeah, they're moving a lot of dirt and trees.
I was in there today and it's,
But also keep in mind, they've been very patient with us on moving this convenience center, and I've got a feeling we're about to get to the end of their patience. They're wanting that out of there.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be an expense.
So it's good news, but it doesn't really help us today. Doesn't help us tonight.
It's not.
okay, let's do budget right now.
Yeah. Once again, we've said the numbers a few times. And Mr. Markham, you let me know, I would probably want to call a vote here to record, to have this spread on minutes that we've agreed.
Before we do that, Chet, did you get the, adding the carpet back in and taking away the health department janitor thing on that?
Yeah, if y'all wanna use those funds,
Is
It's
everybody in
one time.
agreement with that?
Cause it's a one-time fund and it's a
One-time expense.
one-time
Right, and they're not gonna
expense.
have that position.
Well,
yet.
It's not gonna be filled within the year. If it is, it's gonna be at the tail end of the year and it ain't gonna be filled in the year. It's gonna take them 2 years to build that thing, right?
they're not taking that long.
They're not taking long, we'll be hurting.
Well, I'm just saying that.
Yes, yeah,
that
that's,
good.
But it won't, yeah.
Okay, so we can put the carpet back in for the library
yes.
and on that same thing with that money. Okay, yeah, I'm willing to vote now because I wanted to clear that up.
We're voting on a modified original.
Yeah, Chad, procedurally, are we okay to call a vote here?
We can, I mean, I don't know how I think typically we probably wait till we have like the actual
wanna-
resolutions, but if you guys wanna,
Well,
either way is fine with me.
okay,
We
you
can
wanna,
go
you wanna
ahead and
take
do
this
the
information back and put it in resolution form, and then we can bring it back.
Next,
We're gonna have a
But
meeting Monday night.
Well, I do have a thought, an idea. I don't know if we need to change the wording of Monday night's meeting to maybe work session. If we're gonna have the majority of the commissioners here on Monday, they really need to stay and have us explain to them, because then that gives us another crack on June the 2nd at another budget committee meeting before we have to vote. if there's some dissent here, we really need to know it Monday night.
I agree.
An email needs to be sent expressing the urgency of them to be at that meeting. They need to make that meeting.
Is that okay?
I mean, it's like, whenever they show up and they say that they didn't know what they was voting on, and, I mean, that's unacceptable whenever we give them every opportunity to be here and do that. I mean,
Okay.
So as far as the vote, I'm good either way, Kyle.
Okay, let's have you take that information back, and then
Okay.
we'll review it Monday night.
Monday night, and then we can.
Was there any more conversation on, Commissioner Hutchings had 3 items that have been added. We touched on each one of them kind of separately and briefly. Did you want any more conversation, Derek?
Did we talk about the vehicle?
We did not talk about the vehicle. I guess I will live to fight that another day. Unless somebody wants else to talk about it. We've done a whole lot right here.
Yeah,
we need that on the agenda for the next meeting.
Well, then if we approve it then it's a budget amendment.
What's that gonna cost, do we know?
that's what I wanted to
Got some
know.
ideas.
Do you?
Yeah.
What's a guesstimate?
All right, I talked about this with Derek. It's like buying anything. It all depends on how many features you get and such and so forth as that. So I reached back out to the city who has done this. They say the system that they have, which is pretty in-depth, runs them $265 per year per vehicle.
$265 per year.
Per vehicle.
And we have how many vehicles?
That'd be,
Well, I mean, that would, we're looking at putting it on everything.
I would think we pretty much would have to.
Yeah.
I don't think we could single out a,
Yeah.
Unless it was a bulldozer or a grader
or something like that.
something stuck to strictly automobiles on the road.
Yeah, it's sticking all wheels on.
my theory was initially to save a little bit. I'm pretty sure there's some kind of a box we can get that maybe if a vehicle is in an accident, then we could pull it off and then see what, like a little black box kind of thing that would tell what they were doing or wasn't doing. But for the rest of the time, it could just be there, and we could have it pulled off random times to look at, and do that. I don't know that we need a full-blown everything on everybody.
What about for those of us that aren't having any problem?
I'm saying we're gonna treat everybody the same, no matter what.
But you don't know that you don't have problems. Maybe you got employees who are running
Yeah.
80 miles an hour in the vehicles and shouldn't be.
Pull over, don't have any issues like that.
I'm not looking at monitoring day to day. I'm looking at if there was an incident that happened, that's what I'm thinking, is if there's an incident happened, we could pull something off and show whether somebody was
But this,
going 90 miles an hour.
the deal with the city is they said that their fuel costs went down how much?
They said that it started paying for itself, it paid for itself month one.
In fuel expenses? I mean, $265 a month in fuel is, but I mean, it's not just fuel, then you've got fuel and you've got maintenance,
Wear and tear.
wear and tear that would have to be calculated if there's less miles traveled.
So,
At, just roughly, if we said we had 200 vehicles, we were gonna do that to 265, that'd be $53,000.
And the pennies what?
97.
Half a penny.
But that's 200 vehicles. We have 200 vehicles?
Well, that's the other big budgeting thing.
Yeah, I don't know, I mean, that
just.
But you're gonna see savings, I guarantee you.
I like it myself.
Just go 71, or 70 and a half.
You can do halves.
I mean,
If we say, yeah, we can do halves, and you can take it out 3 or 4 days.
I mean, if it's, I believe it will save money. I mean, it'll,
I think it'll pay for itself.
Yeah, I think it'll pay for itself. I don't know that it needs to be an added expense. I think it'll pay for itself.
well, I mean,
So,
It's gonna have to
could
budget
we,
it
could we put
somewhere,
it
do you
in,
not?
could we put it in and,
You do got budget somewhere.
I mean,
can we put it in somewhere? Or do we have it?
I mean, can we, it's a half a penny, can that float in the 3 penny holdover? See if it pays for itself, and if it don't, then we can
Kill it.
kill it.
well, is there not an initial setup fee? I mean, or is that?
You know, probably is. It probably is an installation fee. I would imagine. I didn't.
Well,
I mean, I couldn't
kinda
imagine.
like-
Everything else has got an initial fee.
You know, if this.
But if we've got.
I'm kinda like Derek on this, we got 10,000 we're borrowing from that 1 penny that we're putting in there anyway to do the video setup. And then could we not
Do another.
do another little bit out of that same one to go ahead and fund this, and then
And
hopefully,
if we're serious about doing this, I'll get a company to give us an official,
I'm very
I'm
serious
sure we have
about
to
doing
bid
it.
it.
yeah, over 50 will have to be, it. We'll have to come up with the bid specs. That's correct.
And that would be monitored by,
The department head, I would think. Or how do we do that?
I'm most definitely not opposed to having the department head to have access to that, but I think
My office,
the
Yeah.
executive's
I kinda
office
think
would
that
also need to have
They
access to
definitely
it.
need to see it anyway.
Is this on every vehicle?
Yes, every county vehicle.
Every county vehicle. I'm talking about Danny Wayne vehicle, everybody vehicle.
Danny Wayne don't
I don't
have.
got a vehicle.
He didn't have a county vehicle.
I'm just saying, when you say fire across the board, I'm talking about everybody.
Okay, so not, and you, so I was fixing to ask, what about fire truck?
Chad gets it too.
Chad
Two
ran-
tones gets it, everybody.
Every county vehicle?
Okay, all right, okay. I just want to clarify that up.
Yeah. Would fire trucks be
I would,
included?
I mean, I would think.
I wouldn't think fire trucks, but that'd be up to.
Put them on it, they speed.
Maybe,
I'm just telling the truth.
I don't know, depends on how far deep we get into fire trucks, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if we got into having a countywide fire department, then we.
Then it would be on,
Yeah,
it would be
Then it
on.
would need to be on it.
Yeah. I guess the volunteer, that's a gray area. The volunteer
Yeah.
fire department is technically the county that owns them, it's the fund.
I wouldn't care, put them on there, I wouldn't care.
I'm all about that.
I have a hard time with the difference in structure with the city. I mean, everybody answers to the mayor and the city administrator. I don't know that we can push this on department heads. It could be a tool for them to utilize, but I don't know.
At the
that
end of the day, they're driving county
County vehicle.
vehicles
Right,
that
but-
we fund, that
He needs to get a report
I mean,
that shows if anybody.
by all means, every department head needs access to be able to monitor and check that, but at the end of the day, I think the county executive county executive needs access to that as well.
I mean, I think it would be important.
Well, either way it goes, whenever it comes right down to it, the commissioners
The commissioners need to know.
are in control of every department head.
Funding.
I mean, the funding of it. And if we're gonna put the money out there, I feel, that if we think that they ought to be accountable for the vehicles, we need to be able to monitor it.
We're accountable for the vehicles. We should have the ability to monitor if we so choose.
I mean,
We've done a lot of stuff over here.
We have done a lot of stuff.
And if, I mean, you know, nobody should have a problem with this if they're doing nothing wrong.
Does this
It's
change
the
our,
thing, if nobody is doing anything wrong, there shouldn't be a problem with it.
Does
With
this-
the department head or anybody else.
does this change our earlier, conversation
When we
on
talked about it, you mean the pay wise?
the
The one
penny
said,
structure?
Yeah,
We were
they're gonna
talking
take
about-
it out of that right there, the three. One, you know, we're putting 10,000 towards, that other video monitor.
which is
This-
a one-time fee.
Yeah,
Technically,
one-time.
this is a reoccurring fee, so it would be, of the 3 pennies we're putting in, half a penny would be recurring.
Have to be. But they think, they said the city made
Yeah,
up that
yeah.
difference, so
Yeah.
maybe it would pay for itself, but we could at least try it and see, and then if we needed to fund it later as a item, then that
And
could be
the
something we could
the
do.
setup and
But
installation
right now, I think
fee,
it's smart just to go
it's gonna
ahead
have to
and
be
do that.
mounted onto the
And just get that
vehicles. I would
going.
think that,
I think it's a good thing.
Maybe
It's-
our-
It makes a difference.
garage could, we were adding 2 employees, maybe they could implement that.
I do know, so
Don't know.
EMS already has a feature like this. It actually has cameras built into it as well, one pointing out, one pointing at the driver. And so it's I don't know if it's the same company, but we do have that at EMS, and it's a monthly subscription through Verizon. And I think they come out and install, I mean, it's not a big deal to install that, so.
Okay.
I think they come out and install it, or Mike installed it on the
Well,
vehicles or
that's-
something, so it's pretty simple.
So we don't need to
Well,
take
now,
any
does-
action, Chad? that
Do
would
your
just
alls
be-
track and keep up with where you're at, or is it just like, in case something happens with a patient,
It doesn't
the
record-
video.
It doesn't record them back.
It's more like for wreck coverage, anything like that, there's nothing in the back with the patient. As far as I know, it's got a GPS, but now I'm not for sure about that. I know it records us when we're driving in the truck, going down the road, an accident happens, it's gonna catch what we were doing, and it's gonna catch the dash cam out front.
okay.
So you stay off your phones.
Yes. And watch what you do.
Is that the system that the city has is probably not that in-depth, is it? It's not got cameras and,
I don't know if it got cameras, but I think it records acceleration, deceleration, such as that, so if you got bad driving habits.
That's what they're just
But
acceleration.
that's every year,
That's what the city has, acceleration.
And then five.
and where you're at and where you've been, how long you were there.
5250,
and-
that's where, okay.
GPS location.
It's a 10K setup,
Yeah.
5250. And then, but we could do the basic.
I really don't know if they
Very
got.
basic, and then we could upgrade
cameras or
later,
not,
and it
I
was
don't
a 7K
Yeah.
with a 3750.
I'm sure that system's probably a little more expensive, more in-depth.
Which is what I would.
If you're installing
probably
cameras
recommend
and-
right off the bat.
Yeah, and I'm not for sure, but I think, if, like Chad said, I think it is through Verizon, I think they did come out and install it. I'm not 100% sure that would be my question. And just me thinking, I would think it would have the GPS capabilities and speed and all that in it, but I'm not for sure. I have no idea.
Yeah, I would think so.
Do your MDTs have GPS on them? Do you guys have an MDT, a terminal, or anything on your ambulances? No.
Okay, anything else on commissioner's pay, or did we cover?
So I opted, I mean, if we want to talk about it, I'm all about it, but technically, any change to commissioner pay will not go into effect till the new cycle, in 27, or 26, September of 26.
It'd be fiscal year 27, right?
Yep.
Well,
They go ahead and fund it.
But if you're gonna think about it, you need to be.
Yeah.
While we're talking about funding, 'cause we won't be funding, we won't make any fund changes next
We'll be
year.
adding more than that. Or I would suggest not, anyway.
if your theory works out with GPS funding itself, then that would free up. My proposal on changing, I had two trains of thought. One was pretty cut and dry and simple. A lot of the counties take the executive's pay and divide it by the commissioners, and then break that out monthly. That's how a lot of them are paid. And then as the executive would receive COLA raises, then in turn it would fall down through the commissioners. That's pretty easy, cut and dry. Another thought process I had was somehow a lot more in depth would be to break it down based on the committees that you're on. There's definitely certain committees like this that puts a lot more hours and time in than other committees. And I think some of those should weigh a little heavier in the structure. That's a more in-depth discussion. I have no preconceived notions on what that scale would be. It was just a thought.
Open discussion time.
I can tell you that the county commission has not had a pay raise, and I know you're pushing 16, 18 years. And when the current system was implemented, I don't remember how it was paid before, so I don't know if it was actually a raise or not. They just went to a standard pay across the board still. Went away from paying per committee.
Per committee.
Or per attendance.
Something needs to give on it, like you said, some of them go have more meetings than these. That's the reason why you ain't got more commissioners now. You got four of them says this is ridiculous, $250, I think I'm gonna spend 2 or 3 nights a week or a month, you know.
Well,
And then you look at the surrounding counties, spend $450 for a commission,
Yeah.
you know.
And to be clear and be technical, we are not voting ourselves in a raise.
No, by far.
We're not voting ourselves a raise because we may not get reelected.
Yeah, I could actually get a raise or not, but to get good commission in here, yeah, it does need to be looked at.
A very wise Tennessee senator said that if it paid better, you'd have better representation. That was at all state level positions that he was. He wasn't referring directly to the commissioners. He was all across the board.
you pay peanuts, you get monkeys.
So you're calling us monkeys?
No.
Is that what you said?
No, you get paid dollars, we don't pay you peanuts.
So,
I disagree.
so what would that look like, Chad? What was, what's the?
So, I was just running those numbers, actually. If you took your first scenario there and you took the executive's salary for 26, divided it by 14, and then that would be about $5,100, a $5,100 raise for the county commissioners in a year. So, you would go from $250 a meeting to a month, I'm sorry. Making my calculations here. It would go from $250 a meeting to $675, or not a meeting, $250 a month to $675 a month. Sorry, I keep saying meeting instead of month. So it go $674.50 a month, actually, but.
Be a $425 a month
Difference.
almost double.
So you'd end up at $8,094 for the year.
So penny-wise,
Well, I would take,
Tenth. A tenth of a penny.
I'd take a portion of that out and set it aside for who's on the budget committee. And give them extra, because this one is, I mean, I understand everybody getting a pay, but whoever gets on the budget gets a little bit more. I don't know, it's crazy. Because like you said, nobody's gonna do it if there's not an incentive, so, I don't know.
Well, I thought the same thing about the training pay, and I was wrong about that scenario.
I tried.
I did too.
Whoever you vote that, I'm upstate now.
I'm not. I got catching up to do.
I don't even know where I'm at on there. I was close, I know I think I'm there.
Any old business for the committee? Any new business?
We're not, are we gonna
Vote
Are
on
we
it.
gonna make any calls on,
I kind of thought we talked about that video voting system, the commission voting system, of taking that out of the penny that we put in that general. And I think we were talking about the same thing with the vehicle tracking system. But as far as the commissioner's pay,
I mean, it needs to be baked into, it's not gonna be in this, well, it could go in September, or it'll be September of next
With
year.
anything, I mean, it can, all of it could stay in that.
But we build a cushion, then we're already stealing from the
That penny
cushion.
could go somewhere else next year, so, I don't know.
I just thought this was a conversation for fiscal year 27, and we were
But-
just getting it going.
Well, yes and no, because like you said, if we go to making changes, this got brought up on year 4 at the tail end of the year. And it all got voted down because none of the commissioners they thought they were voting themselves a raise in, they were afraid they wouldn't get reelected if they voted themselves a raise in the years of reelection. That was my theory behind why it got voted down the last time.
Go ahead.
So going back to, and this is just based off of Derek's thing with the county executive divided by 14, and that would be an additional $76,772 in total that we would need to allocate.
We said penny was
97.
So if we do a penny,
If we got 76 there and then we're funding 50, we're funding 50,000, we're thinking we're funding 53,000 for the tracking system, that's got us up over, we were stealing from I almost feel like if we're on that path, we keep stealing from the extra pennies we put in already, we hadn't even started yet, we're stealing from our rainy day fund. I almost feel like it needs to be,
Yeah, but you ain't took a half penny yet, have you? You know that?
7 extra, he said the allocation is $76,000 extra.
Oh, that's almost a penny.
Right, it's an
Yeah,
extra
you said
76,000.
Extra 76, yeah, that's a.
If you do it that way, I mean.
If you do it that way.
That's
I
right, a penny.
think this is a discussion for a later time.
Well, but that's an extra penny. It's budget time, and I know if we don't consider it this year when we're adjusting,
But couldn't the fiscal year 27 budget committee just unravel whatever we do tonight? There's gonna be a new budget committee appointed in September
there are,
that will have to,
that'll go through this process next year.
right,
you know,
But they can
No.
unravel everything, they can come back.
well,
and-
sure, I'm
They
just,
can unravel everything.
But I'm just saying, and I keep
I truly feel like if we don't change it this year, if we don't vote for the change to go into effect this time, it will not go into effect the next year. And then you're 4 years down the road before it changes again. We saw it at the last,
We did.
we saw it the last group. It was tried at this time, or maybe it was later. It was in July or August that it was looked at. I can't remember the date, but it was right before election,
Yeah, yeah.
at the end of the cycle, right before election.
I think,
I mean, you both got good points. You know, we need to budget for what we think we're gonna need for the next cycle. And yeah, everything can be undone. But if it passes by your majority, if this budget passes, that means the majority of people supported it. Odds
So,
are it's not gonna be overturned then again the following.
budget cycle.
Budget cycle.
Next year. So I think you put it, Chad, will you propose the budget with our 170 with an asterisk for discussion with the full commission about how they feel about changing that pay and making that a possible 171? Is that fair enough? That probably needs to be that needs to be a discussion with everybody, if we're not necessarily just us, because they're gonna have, like you said, they're gonna have to vote it.
Simplest thing to do would be just make it 171. I mean, let's just do the 171. I mean, we're right back to splitting hairs, you know. We do it now, or we don't do it. I mean, that's,
Chad, your 2 cents worth in on this?
I mean, I don't, it,
These guys.
He said one cent, not two.
His cent doubled this year.
Okay.
Now, I like the idea of it being tied to something, whether it's that or, the thing about it being tied to something is it doesn't get out of whack,
Yeah,
you
you
know.
don't
10
fight
years from
this.
now. You don't fight it, yeah.
well, if you do it at 71 and you do it for the,
Division of it.
voting system, the, tracking and the race. It won't do all that thing with it.
Yeah, but the rest of it we could take out of the other, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's,
I mean, if you tie that extra penny to those three,
yeah.
And we could supplement it out of
and,
the
and then
penny that we put in
the
there.
voting system will go away,
To-
which will make, I mean, it'll be half of it'll go away. So that'll be part of that'll come back next year.
That'll go down
Or
to
the
three
next
to
cycle.
5, depending on which one you use.
Yeah,
And
and
then
then
we feel like the tracking system is gonna pay
should
for
pay for itself. And if it does, that'll be another, what did we determine, it was a half cent or a tenth? What did we figure it was?
It was 53,000, wasn't that what it was?
Half a cent.
I don't, that would be high.
Yeah, it'll be about half a cent.
But even if it's split, I mean, that's gonna get us pretty close to average on that penny. By the time everything kind of floats and comes out, it's pretty much gonna be about that.
And
penny.
then that's gonna leave a cushion to,
3 pennies.
yeah, we'll leave her three penny cushion there, but then that'll be I mean, if it all works out, the next budget cycle, we could possibly drop it that penny.
Possibly.
I mean, you know, if the tracking pays for itself and the
'cause that's all it's gonna take.
Well, the only reoccurring thing would be that half cent. You could definitely drop it a half cent.
$171.
171.
I'm good with 171.
If we balk at the, if we get, well, I mean, we can train, I mean,
I don't.
What would that go in, the general?
Yeah, so on my list here, I just changed the general from 123 to 124.
Okay.
It's gonna be painful.
All right, do we got a vote on that or anything, or what was
we said we were gonna kick it to Chad to have it all laid out
for?
for Monday night after full court for the commissioners to stay, and we discuss all of
So
it
we
with
can
him.
call that meeting, we've got time to call that
Call it a
meeting?
work session, it should be,
Or we recess,
or you can recess again. That might
Let's
be the
recess
easiest to do.
make a motion to recess.
All in favor?
Uh,
We got a recess.